Hi everybody. Today well, partly because I finally got the parts to get this done, and probably partly because everybody thinks I just do post-war. This is a little pre-war engine from a fellow in Hawaii, Ron Bishop, who originally sent it in because two of the side rods were broken, so we needed those replaced. But I said, well, I always service them too. Well, as it turns out, I don't believe this engine had ever been taken apart. This was made in 1939. This is a 229. I don't know if the numbers will come there or not, if you can see them. This is a little pre-war engine made in 1939, and well, this is a long saga, but in any case, the castings made for pre-war a lot of times just deteriorate with time. I took this thing out of the box, I turned it over and took out the mounting screws to get this locomotive apart, and it was stuck in there a little bit. It was just tight because it had probably never been removed since it was given to Mr. Bishop as a present as a child. So I said, okay, we'll just use a little more pressure to sort of take it out of the shell, and it came out like confetti. The entire motor, the assembly, the frame, this is what mounted it to the inside of the locomotive. This is the other end that mounted it to the inside of the locomotive. Here's the motor. Here's the frame. It broke in half. I told him it was just like confetti. These are one of the things that make the repairman's hair stand on end. So I had to get an entirely new rolling chassis for the thing. I could use the armature, so I have an extra one now. The gears on the rolling chassis, I just had to clean it up a little bit. Basically what he got was a new locomotive. Luckily it didn't need a smoke unit. They didn't have it then. So I also did the rods, and you'll notice, okay, this is one of the things, I'm not really bragging, but if you're a collector, you get real picky. The bell was damaged, so I mounted a new bell, and I also, this is one of those things I talked about on the Facebook page before. Also, these screws here were Phillips screws, but the correct screws are these hex head screws. So I replaced those. This is as close to a stock engine as I can get. I never replace parts, if at all possible, with aftermarket parts either. If you're going to have a collector's item, and this is not an expensive engine, but if you want it as close to the way it was when it was new, you use Lionel parts. And I can get Lionel parts for anything. It sometimes takes a little more work than others, but I don't believe in using aftermarket replacement parts unless there's nothing else available, and so far that hasn't happened. Anyway, to make a long story short, I took a motor that disassembled itself. This has been going on for a while, and I've got this thing now. It runs as well as I'm sure it ever did, so let's run it around the track a couple of times. Here's reverse, forward, reverse again. So the E unit's working perfectly. I did also have to replace the E unit. It was shot. Let's get this thing going now. This is again a pre-war, made in 1939. The locomotive number is 229. But the reason I wanted to show you all how the engine completely fell apart is because you need to, if you're going to do your own work, especially on pre-war, you need to be really careful when you disassemble the locomotive. Or the same thing could happen to you. And if you still want to do your own work and that happens, I can point you to a place to get your replacement parts. None of them are cheap, but it will work as well as it ever did when you're done. We'll get this going a little faster. It doesn't have magnet traction, so I don't want it to go off the track. Here we go, full speed. Okay, a little slow on the curves. So it's the Lionel Prewar 229. And that's it.